Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to Popternative. This is the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, news, pop culture, sports, everything really depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. You'll recognize my guest from a lot of cool things on your TV screen, but more specifically, you will recognize him in Family Reunion on Netflix. Anthony Alabi is with us. Anthony, welcome to Popternative, man.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to chat. Pretty interesting because, you know, your first, like this acting storytelling thing wasn't the first thing you did. You come from a football background. Can you talk a little bit about that transition a little bit to start off the interview?
Yeah. Okay. So to start, I mean, I always wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid, my dad, being foreign, he would always go to the movie theater. So we'd be there all day long. You know what I mean? He'd be there from like 9 a.m. till like 2. You know, and so we kind of watch a bunch of movies, and I kind of wanted to be everything that I was in. So it's his fault. But when you come out of the womb and you're 6'6", 360, you play football in Texas. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. And I did it as long as I could just to make sure that I was secure and it was a good start. You know what I mean? I knew I didn't want it to be something that I did for like 10 years, but I know I wanted to have a good start. I wanted to have a good career and then go off and do what I really, really wanted to do, which was acting. So I'm very fortunate that I was able to do that.
And we're talking about Family Reunion on Netflix. And, you know, there's something that hits hard about a sitcom, but there's something that hits hard about a family-driven sitcom. And there's a lot of kind of elements that are kind of thrown in. For someone that's kind of on this show and, you know, you're reading the script, you see how they're actually putting it together. What is so appealing, in your opinion, for the audience member about a sitcom over these years, Anthony?
Honestly, I mean, and I'm taking this straight from the fans. I mean, a lot of times what we hear back is just how nice it is kind of during this time where you can sit and watch a show with your family without having to kind of like live edit, you know, because I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Yeah. And so a lot of times like we're watching and it's like, nope, not going to watch that. Okay, there we go. You know what I mean? So it's fun to be able to watch our show with your kids, have it be a whole family thing. And you have jokes that are for the adults and you have jokes that are for the kids. And so it kind of works out in both ways. And I think that's the best thing about our show is it's relatable on every level. And I think that's the same kind of magic that you got from like a Family Matters or like Fresh Prince back in the day. I think those are the kinds of shows that really brought that out in families and they enjoy it because it's just fun. At the end of it, they all feel good.
But it's one of those things too where like certain things, you have to pay attention, but there's just something about just throwing on a sitcom, Anthony, and just kind of just enjoying it after a hard day at work or something. Just throwing it on, right? It's like passive watching.
Running in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting. What the obvious answer to this question with Family Reunion is you hope people enjoy it. You hope they recommend it to their friends and family. But diving into it a little bit more, what are you hoping people get when they watch that show?
I mean, personally for me, I'm hoping that they are, you know, just for me, I'm hoping that they see, you know, a lot of times throughout my career, I've had to deal with they think you're a big football player, so they don't really expect a lot out of you. So for me, the best thing would be for people to watch this and go, oh, okay, actually he's good. He's funny. You know,
he can't just tackle someone. He can.
Right. Exactly. And I think as a whole, all of us we want people to be able to see themselves in those scenarios because I think in this time of you know, civil rights and with, you know, race relations and politics and everything going on, I think it's really nice to turn something on and see people that look like you represented in an accurate way. I think that before a lot of times it was kind of the way people see Black people and that's how they put them on the screen. Whereas this is, it's you know, the Black community writing for the Black community about the Black community. So I think it's that kind of like saying like, yeah, I'd react like that and seeing that one size doesn't fit all. Where even within a small nuclear family, there's different points of view and people see things differently, whether it's like discussing who Jade is dating or like how we deal with the police or, you know, how you deal with someone who's bullying another kid. It's we all have unique perspectives. And I think a show like this really brings that out as opposed to this general thing of like, well, Black people feel this way about this topic. And that's not accurate.
They suddenly sprinkle in moments that just kind of
Right.
hard.
Right? Yeah, the ninja moments. The
Yeah.
little watching like, oh, okay. I felt that in the cavity.
Oh, for sure. I have a question to ask you. I'm really excited to ask you this question.
Okay.
The NFL is known as, one of the biggest sports on the planet, but more specifically, football. I mean, it's about it. It's a show. It's a spectacle. You see it with the
It is.
Super Bowl and everything. You know what I mean?
Color. And,
Yeah, it's got all that, and it's got the swagger of the people on the field and everything. Here's my question though. When you look at NBA and basketball and what's happening there, and it's happening a little bit more like LeBron James and Space Jam and everything, but there is like charisma in basketball as well. But I don't see it in terms of the Showtime spectacle level in the NBA. Like there's in the NFL, like you're having like NFL, like people that played football going to be in the WWE. People that played football going on shows of Family Reunion on Netflix. You know what I mean? Why is it that? Why do you think it's like more football rather than basketball or other sports? You know what I mean? It seems like more NFL.
Well, I think a lot of times, if you look at it, at least from my understanding, in the NBA, in soccer, in baseball, they're not wearing helmets. So when they're recognized as a player, LeBron James is recognized with his face. Messi is recognized with their face. Baseball, Derek Jeter and A-Rod, and these are older guys. I'm not huge in baseball, but they're recognized by their face. Whereas in football, we wear helmets, and so no one really sees us. No one knows what you look like. I mean, now, of course, with media and social media, people know what you look like, but you're known by your jersey. You're known by your kind of just silhouette of how you look when you're playing. So I think a lot of times football players, when they come out of that, they're like, I want to be seen. And so, it's one of those things where it's like, now this is my face. I'm on the screen and I want to do things. And
I like that.
And I think that's kind of where you get that kind of like, I'm done with this and I want the helmet's off and this is who I am, not the guy that you see in the silhouette. You know what I mean?
There are a lot of really good, and lately there are a lot of like sports like shows and themes shows. Like for example, on Disney Plus, Mighty Ducks and Big Shots coming out with John Stamos with the high school girls basketball team, right? And you look at Ted Lasso on Apple TV, right?
Wow,
I love that show. Do you like with your kind of athletic background? Do you kind of look at that wave of like sports shows and movies and be like, oh, like I want to do that? Does that happen to you sometimes?
Yeah, I mean it's fun to watch. I really enjoy watching those. Like Ted Lasso was just fantastic because it's not what I expected, and so it's such a good show. And the Mighty Ducks and all, they're super motivating. Having done sports. Personally, me, I'm kind of done with it. I love watching it, but I'm like, I don't want to go through because as an actor, I dial in and I double down. So it's like if I'm in a football movie, I'm going to go through training camp and do the whole thing, and I am not interested in training camp. I look at those and they're entertaining, but they're not necessarily something I'd want to do. Because it's like I'm older now, man.
But it would also be cool for you to be like in a sports show where you're like an agent or something like that. Like,
no, those are fun. That's fun. It would be fun to be the guy in the suit.
You thought I was asking like to be like an athlete or anything? No, like a sports theme. Do you know what I mean?
Those are fun because you know that world, so it's easy to kind of dial in to that. You know what I mean? I know exactly how agents think, and I know how reps think, and owners, managers, and directors and stuff. So I think that's fun.
Did you see what happened in the? Do you keep up to date a little bit with sports as much as you can?
I do.
Did you see what happened? Did you see what happened?
Now people will come up and be like, "Hey man, did you hear?" And I can't be like,
Well, did you hear about what happened in the National Hockey League with the referee? Did you hear about that?
Oh, I did not. What happened?
He was caught on a hot mic basically saying that he gave a penalty to the team because he wanted to give them a penalty.
Oh my God.
So it was like
I mean, hold on, but let's be real though. Hold on. In referees, it's like in the NBA, they call it a makeup call. So that happens where it's like they messed up on a call before.
So he got fired.
See,
from the NHL.
You can admit that. You can't say that on a
Try
hot mic.
again. When we're done this interview, you'll find the clip. Like, go find the clip. I don't want.
I need to go hear that.
It made
People need to start respecting the mic. Like, you need to act like that mic is on at all
It's
times.
interesting because, you know, with the COVID-19, like the sports has just been affected like it's insane, man. And you see it like this show, like Popternative. I say it in my intro, I interview athletes and I interview a lot of people, but it's been athlete dry because I think the climate is just so like out of control right now.
It's crazy, dude. I mean, with everything going on, and you have like some sports following protocol, and then some sports are like, nah. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, it's about money, so it's just like whatever works, whatever.
They're trying, man. They're trying.
Personally, I mean, I think the NBA did a fantastic job. I think with the bubble, I think that was probably, I mean, that was obviously the most perfectly executed way that you can do it as safely as possible. And they tout they had no COVID cases or anything. I mean, it's great. The NFL, on the other hand, was like, you know what? We're just gonna do it.
No, the NFL would just be like, oh, so there's some COVID cases. We're gonna
exactly.
Game, you know?
I mean, you got 3. Is that enough to cancel the game? No, we're good.
You saw with the trade deadline yesterday in the NBA. Me being in Canada, being like a Raptors fan, just kind of like pretty happy about the Kyle Lowry just staying put type thing. But those days are stressful for fans.
It's tough for fans because you guys have so much that's not in your control. I mean, players too. We don't have control over anything, but at least we're a little bit in the epicenter, so we kind of feel like we have some kind of, you know, take on or like a vote. But like you guys, I understand, man. It's crazy. It's like how you feel about a show. You know, like when I'm watching a show, I'm like, I hope it doesn't go in this direction. And then it just like jumps the shark.
I want to know if you've noticed this, and it's not just in TV and movies, but also music, because I'm a big music guy, and I've just noticed all genres across the board. The amount of music that is out there right now is insane.
Dude, it's insane.
There's so many good talent, so much talent out there.
There's a ton of talent, but I love the fact that, because I'm a guy. Think about it. Like I grew up in Texas, right, and it was diverse, which meant like 99% white people and me. So, you know, there was a period where it was like, oh, cool, there's like country music and I'm into it. And I was like in college and I was the only black offensive lineman. So I was like, yeah, this works. I'll listen to this. And some of it was catchy. And then you kind of get into the other stuff and like, you know, alternative rock, and you get into indie stuff, and you get into like jazz. Like, I don't know why, but since the pandemic hit, I've been nothing but jazz in my car. And I don't even listen to jazz, but I think the stress was just so high that I needed something to just chill it out. But I love it. I love music during this time because you get to pick what you want, and there's so many ways to digest it. It's like TV. You know, there's streaming, there's the subscription services, there's all kinds of stuff.
But I think a big trend we're seeing in 2021, because it was around in 2020 where I think people were playing around with it because they had a lot of opportunities because they weren't doing anything because they were stuck at home during the pandemic.
Like, exactly.
2021 is the year, Anthony, of the genre bending. Like, people are throwing the genre out the window.
You got country singers doing rap. You got rappers doing country. You got Taylor Swift now is doing nothing but like melodic. Machine Gun Kelly
was a hip hop artist, and he's doing like pop punk Blink-182 stuff, and I loved it.
I heard that song he did with Black Bear, and I was like, what is happening?
I loved it though. I love that whole record.
What is
happening? It is amazing. There's a lot of genre bending, I think, going on in TV and film too, though. And this is a perfect segue to talk about a show that I mentioned before we started.
Okay.
Called Shameless.
Yes.
You know where I'm going with this. They throw everything in there. That show literally is like that show's dodgeball. Like you're like just like everything is thrown in.
Just this throughout every episode. You know what I mean? Actually through the season, because some episodes are fully serious and then some are just straight comedy.
You had a pretty cool role in that, man. You had a dope. It was dope, man. It was like they say that was dope. That was dope.
That's like that. Isn't that the highest praise you can get if you're walking by on the street and somebody was like, "Hey, man, I saw you in Shameless. That was dope."
That dialogue with Liam, man. Like, what was that scene like? That was insane.
Honestly, when I read the script, I was really pumped about it. And then when I read how I was talking to Liam at the end, I was like, I looked over at my wife. I was like, I get to cuss out a kid. I get to cuss out a child. And she was like, that's cool. I was like, yeah, that's fun.
Because it's just like That show though just hits like crazy.
But it's a lot of fun going on because usually, you go on a show
Yeah.
and if it's in the beginning, everybody's
Mhm.
still like excited and whatever. If you're in the middle of it, everybody's got their swagger up because they all got money now. And usually if you get a show that's like 10 years in, everyone's just tired
Yep.
and like not happy. Not that show. I walked onto that set and it was like it was day one. I mean, Shanola was like all just like, "Hey, how's it going, baby?" And just like happy, and Steve Howie was super pumped, and it was just a lot of fun to just be there. So when we got to work, into the wee hours of like the early morning, it was great. We just like played. So I was hoping I got like 9 episodes on that thing. I was like, I just want as many as you're gonna throw at me. But they were like, the story arc was done, so I had to keep it up.
Did you ever watch the sitcom, the Reba McEntire sitcom Reba? Do you remember that
Yes,
one? Because Steve
that's our
Howie was
that's
in
Steve
that
Howie,
as
yeah.
Van, and he was that one
Dude.
of the most underrated sitcom characters of all time. Van.
Underrated. He played that so well. And the reason why I relate to Steve so well is because Steve is my height. He's like 6'5", 6'6". He's a big old dude. He's funny. And you expect him to be, and he can play the drama and be intimidating and do whatever else, but his comedic timing is kind of perfect. And so I've been wanting to work with that dude. Eventually I'm gonna produce something that's gonna have him and me as like partners, because that guy is so cool. Like I would love to work with him again. But it was a ton of fun just being on there. And his character in Reba is accurate to his timing. Like that's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
It is crazy. You mentioned the producing. This is a good segue to my many hats question. I mean, when
Yeah.
did you notice it was kind of like when do storytellers? Because that's what you guys do. You're storytellers, whether you're on camera or off camera. That's what you
Mhm.
do. When do you notice the necessity to like wear many hats and to kind of spread the wings a little bit? Is there kind of a moment where you've been doing it for such a long time where you're like, okay, I want to
Yeah.
try something new. I want to write something. I want to produce.
Well, I think it comes in one of two ways, or if not both. I think for me, it started off where I naturally, because of the way my father is, he's very, he loves to tell a story. And
Yep.
my father's an embellisher. Like if it's 3, he'll say it's 17. Like
Yep.
he just loves it. And made stories have a lot of flavor. And so I grew up with that. And so
Oh,
I
okay.
always enjoyed a good journey or an adventure or a story. And being a big guy coming into this industry, I mean, I used to lie about my height in auditions. I mean, they'd be like, "How tall are you?" And I'm like, 6'3", and they're like Will Smith? And I go, "Yeah, just like Will Smith." So, with that, I had to you learn to tell stories that you write yourself into. And so it got to a point where I was like, I'm gonna start making these things that put me in these different scenarios that normally you would see a big guy in. You know what I mean? And so luckily I have a team behind me that believes the same thing. So we've been fortunate enough to get roles that aren't the bouncer or the thug or the detective or whatever, and it's been something else.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the producer kind of itch came from. And I'm annoying on set. I'm asking questions. I want to know what the cameraman's doing. I want to know everything, because it's eventually you want to get to that point where you create these stories and you do these things yourself. And so that's always fun for me. I always get to kind of be like a little kid running around and asking questions.
Absolutely. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on Popternative to chat a little bit, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, man, I love the afternoon chat. I'm into it.
Absolutely. So Family Reunion, they can check it out right now on Netflix.
You can check out season 1, parts 1 and 2 on Netflix right now. April 5th. April 5th, we're coming out. Season 2, part 1 is going to be out. So part 3 altogether.
It's a calm before the storm, man. That's close.
Calm before the storm, man. It's gonna hit soon. Everybody's excited. We just won an Image Award, another one,
Congrats.
the second year in the row. So we're really pumped about that. We found out a couple of days ago. So we're all still buzzing about that, and it's gonna roll right into the premiere. So really excited. A lot of good stuff happening. A lot more coming. Family reunion coming. A lot more episodes coming. So I'm hoping the fans are excited about it.
Amazing. And where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Yeah, at Anthony Alabi official on Instagram and at Anthony Alabi on Twitter.
Amazing. Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, be sure to catch Anthony Alabi in Family Reunion on Netflix. Until next time, it's Anthony Alabi and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.